Okay, you're watching it, the final segment of 3 on the Waterfall coffee table. Enjoy. Okay, so here's my plan. I have this kind of clamped together loosely right now. I believe I'm going to glue on one side first, get this glued together nicely, and then I'll be careful, take it off, get some construction adhesive on the underside of this and the back side of this. And then I'll flip this upside down. I'll put the table on that, get everything screwed together from the underside, nice and tight, get it all weighted, and let that set overnight before I put that last wing on. I just think that's going to be, as I'm thinking through this, the best way to do it. Now, I'll be honest, I did the circular saw cuts. This does not fit together as nicely as I had hoped, just telling you. I do believe when I get this clamped together good with a bunch of glue and I start doing some of the sanding, I might have to make some of my own putty out of this hickory sawdust and stuff and fill a little bit of this possibly. I still think it's going to look pretty decent, I believe. I'm hoping. But right now, I'm going to get this taken apart. I'm going to get an awful lot of glue on this, and we're going to get this glued together and let this set tonight. Now, right now, you'll see that I'm moving some of my blocks here. I just kind of had it loosely done. I'm not clamped on real tight because I'm actually on the table. I'm going to pull this piece off some, and this will be, I'm going to support it with some shims here that are pretty darn close to the right height. I just need to be able to move these clamps on these blocks a little, move them in more so I can clamp down a little harder. And then I'm going to show you with some CA glue how I'm going to clamp the middle section, since obviously my clamps can't reach in that far. CA glue is a good fast curing glue, holds pretty firmly in a compression. It's not super strong and sheer. So what I'll do is I'll put some of this medium CA glue on the underside of this. I'll spray some of the activator on here, and I'll press this down, hold it in place, and it'll glue on there good. When all the glue up's done, I'll just take a hammer and bust this real hard from the side, and it'll come off, and I can just sand away the CA glue that's on the surface. The other reason I'm pulling it out from here is because I'm going to use a lot of glue, and I don't want to get stuck to the box just yet. Okay, this is just going to get me close. I'm going to get this lined up. I'll get these ends pulled up. Trying not to block too much of the camera here. Hopefully you can see some of this. All right, I'll put a circle of some CA there. See that on there? And I'll spray the activator. You can actually see the chemical reaction there. And right now I'm just trying to work a little wood glue in a couple of these gaps so this can dry overnight. So that's what we'll do. We'll come back tomorrow, see how clean this looks, see if we can't get it flipped over. I got my lines, my grains and stuff lined up pretty good. It looks like it's waterfalling over. Hopefully when I get this sanded and stuff, it'll come together nicely. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Okay, so came back out this morning. I'll be honest, the joint is not what I had hoped for. It's not as good as I had hoped. So if I had this to do again, I would I'd consider another way of cutting this miter. I don't know that I have it resolved in my head what I would do differently, but I would do something differently. So today, what I plan on doing, I hope this works, is I plan on taking this piece, setting it up on its side, knocking off these blocks that I CA glued on yesterday. Then I want to take this piece, lay it on its face up on my bench, and then I'll take the box, put it on that, get some things fit. Probably do some construction adhesive on the box to the underside of the top and this face, and get that all screwed together from the underside. And then I'll glue on the last face with the construction adhesive and the glue clamps, and then probably screw it at the same time so that everything holds in place. And then I'll have finish work to do after that. So let's see if we can get this thing off of here. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do today is try to mount these sides. Now I've taken the top piece, flipped it over, and I've laid the box on there, got it centered and positioned where I need it to go, and I put a bunch of screws down through the plywood, so I'm now attached to the top surface. I've been kind of toying with different ways to mount this, and I think this is going to be the best way, since I'll be honest, my cuts have not come out as good as I hoped. You know, using that circular saw, I tried my hardest to set that thing at exactly 45 degrees. You know, I used whatever tools I had, and it's just not that exact. So my cuts have not come out as good as I hoped. So if I had it to do again, I would do it some other way. I don't know what that other way is yet, but I would do it some other way. So let's get this off. It's not going to be entirely easy as a one-man job, but I'll get a ton of glue on this. I don't care how much glue is dripping off. I want to use as much glue as I can, and we'll get this glued in place and then put some screws on the back side of it. Okay, so with this other side, since everything else is kind of glued and screwed in place, I'm going to be able to get by with just this clamping scenario. Right now, everything is kind of loose clamped. I'm going to take this off again, just like I did the other side, get a bunch of glue put on this, and get this all clamped back together and come back tomorrow. We'll flip it over, and then we'll see what we got to do to kind of dress up some of these cuts, as I've said, since they haven't come out like I anticipated. So anyways, let's get this unclamped, get it glued up, and reclamped. All right, so I got all my clamps off. Everything's kind of glued up. Again, not real happy with the joints. Sorry, I keep saying that probably on this, but I got to figure out what I want to do with that. So right now today, what I want to do is I want to take on these edges. I'm going to do a 1/8 inch round over bit. Just got a little follow bit in the trimmer that you can see there. And I'm going to take that, I'm going to do an 1/8 inch round over on this. I already have my depth set, tried it on a sample piece, which I would encourage you to do. And then I'm going to come back with a 1/4 inch round over to do on this joint and see what my seam looks like as it's a little further into that radius, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to get this trimmed now, both sides. I'll spin it around. This thing weighs a ton. And then we'll do the 1/4 inch on these edges and figure out my sanding, how I want to make my putty from this sawdust. So let's get to trimming. Okay, so here's the coffee table so far. From a distance, it doesn't look too bad. There's the black oak box on the underside of the Waterfall hickory, 4 planks of Waterfall hickory. Now again, I told you that I was not happy with the 45, the way I did it. I think I did it the only way a one-person job could do it. I obviously couldn't have taken, that would be a big piece. I think overall that would have been, let me see before I trimmed it. It was almost 8 foot long, the hickory planks. So I would have had to have taken that through, you know, a table saw on a 45. And I just don't think that's something I could have done on my own. So I think the straight edge was probably a good way of doing it. I think kind of where I screwed up was actually on the angle of my saw. I think the new blades were good. Again, those Diablo blades seem to cut really well on this hickory, which is incredibly hard. But anyways, I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick where some of those little voids that are on that angle, probably show you on this side. You might be able to actually see couple of them a little bit better on this side. I don't know if you can see, there's a little spot there, little spot down here. I'm going to actually fill those. Actually, this one you might be able to see better. Get up close. You see I got some voids there. So I am going to actually take some glue. I'm not going to let it set up for very long, and then I'm going to start sanding with some 220, and I'm going to form my own putty with the sawdust from this hickory. So, and it'll fill in those voids pretty decent. Brought Melissa out. She was happy with it. That's all that matters to me. So let me show you how I'm going to fill these. All right, I'm going to do my best to show this. So I already have a piece of 220 on my sander. So I'm going to go along, and I am going to, might have to do this a couple times. I'm going to take the Type Bond 3 because it's a little bit more, I don't know if watery is the right word or not, but it is a little bit more watery. It's thinner. That's probably a better word. So I'm going to try to work that into these cracks as good as I can all along this angle. I'll let it set up a little bit, and then again I'm going to take that 220 and I'm going to sand on this, and as it sands with the glue, it's going to mix the sawdust from this, and the finer sandpaper you go, the finer the putty essentially that you're creating, and hopefully that this thinner wood glue will fill these holes with the sawdust. Again, might have to do it a couple times, so let's see how it goes. As always, I'm not going to be bashful with the glue. Glue you can clean up. So I want to make sure I'm working this in there. There's some real tiny little air pockets in there. And I want to make sure that this glue is getting in there. So I'm just trying to push it in. Okay, so now I'm going to take 220 on my orbital sander. And I'm just going to go over this and kind of work this putty into those grooves. All right, well, not sure just how good you can see that or not, but that crease is filled in pretty nicely. So what I'll do, there's still some glue residue on there. What I'll do is I'll let that dry really good overnight. And tomorrow, once the glue has kind of shrunk and dried real well, I'll see if I have any more voids, and I may have to do another 1 or 2 coats like that, but then I'll come back and I'll sand off all that residual glue, and this is starting to come together. All right, well, today I'm going to try to get some clear applied to this. Now, I am going to attempt to spray a new clear. Read some good reviews on this Ecos Paints. It's an interior satin clear varnish, as you can read there. It is supposed to be fume-free and everything. It's water-based, but it's actually for floors. Is one of the applications. Supposed to be rock hard. So I'm going to give it a shot. We're going to put it on this table. Now, it doesn't list as an application process spraying, but I'm going to try to spray it anyways. see what happens. I'm gonna try to spray a sample piece here first, just one of my drops from the table itself, and we'll see how well this goes on. I guess if it doesn't apply good with the sprayer, we'll have to brush it on. So I'm gonna get this not shaken, but mixed up. Like all other urethanes and everything, you don't wanna shake it, you don't want all the air in it. So I'm gonna open this up, get it stirred up, get some put in a gun, and we'll spray it on the sample piece and see how it goes. There is almost no odor to this too. I just kind of put my nose down here by it, kind of smelled it. It is literally almost odorless. So just a little bit of faint odor. We'll see how it does when I spray it. But I would think in an indoor application applying this wouldn't be bad at all. All right, if you can see that, I got a little bit of puddling there because I had a bunch of dust on this sample piece, not a big deal. So then I moved down here a little bit. It actually applies on there pretty nicely with a spray gun. So I think what we're gonna do, I think very little fumes. I'm not even gonna wear a respirator. I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this table, or get this table sprayed. All right, one thing I forgot to mention. First, I'm gonna get this wiped off with a tack cloth. Just kind of lightly wipe it off, get all the dust off. I do want to wipe the raw wood portions first before I wipe the stain portions, just in case, you know, a little bit of the film of the stain comes off. I obviously don't want to wipe that and then wipe it on the raw wood, so I'm gonna have to try to wipe the wood off first. With these tack cloths, this one's actually a little bit of an older one, so it's not, I'll say, as tacky anymore. But you know, you don't want to push very hard. You don't want any of the adhesive on the wood. So I'm going to just kind of lightly wipe this thing down, kind of fluff and bunch this up. I've already kind of blown this off and wiped it off real good, so I don't anticipate getting too much sawdust on here or dust. All right, so I got the first coat on there. I'm gonna come back in about an hour or so, half hour. Come back, it should dry enough for me to put on a second coat. I kind of put it on thin. I don't want to get any runs. I want to see how this product reacts. So I'll probably do several thin coats, get a little bit of a build up. I'll hit it with a 320, real lightly sand it, try to get out any high spots, and then I'll do a few more coats. So it looks pretty good. I think it brings out the grain nicely. It seems to spray pretty well. So what I'm finding is actually, I think by spraying this product, the dry time is not near what it would be, you know, because it's going on really thin. Now, obviously, when you spray, you waste a lot of product too in just the overspray, but it seems to coat really nice when you spray it. I had one little drip. I don't know if I fast forward, you may or may not be able to tell it. I was able to dab it with a brush. But what I need to do now, because it just feels just a little fuzzy, is I'm going to hit this very lightly with a block, almost just the weight of the block. I'm just going to move this back and forth with a 320 grit sandpaper. So what you'll do is you'll take off the top of all that fuzz with this 320, and when you spray it again, next time it'll come out significantly smoother. So I just need to get this whole thing kind of wiped down with this 320. All right, well, that about wraps it up. I'm gonna let this dry really good overnight. I think I'm done with it. Tomorrow I'll come back after everything's secured, overnight. We'll check it out real good. If we've got any fuzzy spots or anything, we can just kind of touch those again with 360, maybe put a little bit more clear on there. But I'm hoping I'm kind of done at this point, and that's it for out here in the shop.
So I am so in love with the way this table turned out. Brett did such an amazing job on it, and it was so fun to be able to be a part of it, from going to pick out this beautiful hickory wood and then watching him put this waterfall table together. When we first moved into this house, I knew this space needed a larger coffee table, and we just used the one that we had for several years that Brett had built us back 20 years ago. And actually I just did a redo on that video if you're interested to see how we transformed that one. But this one was worth waiting for. I love it so much, and it's been really fun to decorate it. And I think there's so many different things you can do for coffee table decor, and if you go on Pinterest, there's a ton of different ideas. I really didn't want to put a lot of things on here because I love the exposed wood on it. I did just get this vase, and I also have some pampas grass that I want to put in here. And I just took it out before I started this video because it just needs to open up some more, so it didn't quite look right. Finding a vase like this to put on your coffee table works really great. And then I love trays. I love incorporating these in a lot of different areas in my home, and just simply taking a candle and some books and stacking them, having another little plant. I love to swap this out when I have fresh flowers in the house. And then these wood painted beads with the tassels are really popular right now, so I love that too. But yeah, it's just fun having something different in here, and I just absolutely love this table. And we were able to spend save so much money with Brett building it himself. So I am so thankful to have a husband that can do all these awesome projects for me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a like on it, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, we would love for you to do that. We have so many different projects coming your way. Until next time, stay blessed.